I want to turn it over and happily introduce Ashley Monaé, who serves as the Director of A&R at Raedio. Thanks for joining us, Ashley.
Hi, thank you guys. How you doing?
I am doing great and hopping right into it and looking at the theme of course it's Women History Month. As you know, I'm sure, entering into the music industry isn't always easy, especially as a woman. How did you come into your role as the director of A&R at Raedio? Talk to us a little bit about your journey.
Man, my journey has been, I guess I could say in comparison to many other A&Rs that I have met along my journey, I've had such a very drastically different journey to get where I'm at today. I actually went to school for print journalism and film. So I thought I would be like doing screenwriting and all of that fun stuff. And as soon as I graduated, I ended up getting an internship at Vibe magazine. And I ended up staying there for a couple years and became the contributing editor. So I spent a lot of time actually in the music journalism space. I wrote for Vibe, I wrote for Pitchfork, Billboard, Grammys, like any place you can think of, I wrote there. I did a cover story for Paper Magazine for Travis Scott. So I had a lot of, interest with working with artists. And I think after I wrote for a couple of years out of college, I ended up being like, oh, like I really enjoy doing this. But the more and more I started being around artists and being in the studio, I was like, oh, like what's this process like? And like, how do you truly get into like the music making process? And so after that, I actually ended up running into someone who would end up becoming my mentor and works with a lot of really great artists. And was given the opportunity to be able to sit in those sessions and really understand how they created their music. For me, I started kind of giving my input during sessions, and it was a little bit more abstract because I'm coming from a space of writing where I was writing feature stories on artists. So I'm observing them from like a, maybe we go out to the club before the session. I'm seeing like what their vibe is like, who they interact with, how they interact with people. And then we have a conversation about that back at the studio. Or I'm just sitting there asking them questions and picking their brains. And then we come up with songs based off of those things that are going on in their lives. So I think the more and more I started to do that, I was like, oh, like I actually really enjoy this. And this is a different way to possibly do A&R. And so, yeah, from there, I kind of dwindled off from writing and then ended up moving to LA from Brooklyn. And I started working at Interscope back in 2018. And so that was like my first foray into like really being in the music industry, which was very interesting. So I started off as a coordinator for two different A&Rs. And within my first year of working there, I actually signed my first act, which was like kind of unprecedented for someone who's technically an assistant to be signing their first artist. So that was an amazing journey and just going through that process and understanding how to put together a rollout and what the music should sound like and how do we make the visuals cohesive and how do we introduce her to the marketplace as a new artist and all of that stuff. So after a couple of years there, I found myself at Raedio.
No, that's absolutely amazing to hear. And it's great that you talked about, it wasn't a straight journey to where you're at right now. There were pivots along the way as well. What would you encourage people to do who are, thinking about going one route and understanding that there's small steps that you have to take in order to get to that ultimate end goal?
For me, I just say like stay curious and always stay like just wanting to know more. Like I think when you kind of close yourself off and box yourself into just wanting to maybe do one thing, it's just like no, like all of the steps I took, like being a journalist and really understanding how to talk to artists, that helped me like with A&R, just like getting to know artists and letting them know like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm not just like a regular A&R that's not going to care or, tap in with me. Like, let's figure out how to truly understand on the surface, like underneath the surface, what do you want to talk about in your music? And then also, I think for me, I spend a lot of time on like, what's the story? Which I don't think a lot of people always take the time to truly be like, who are you as an artist? Because I'm thinking from a journalism background. I'm like, I want to know about you as an artist. I don't care if it's just like one hit that sounds really good. Like, what's going to actually make everyone connect with you? So for me, it's always like, just stay learning. Like, even to this day, I'm actually like in an advertising program right now through Droga 5 that I got into. It's an academy. And I want to do that because I work at a smaller label now. And so like I've always had ideas, but like how do I truly like, even as a writer, you pitch ideas, you figure out, you know, how to execute things, but like I really want to know what the jargon is and the terminology and know how to really like present things thoroughly all the way through as if like I would maybe go and work in advertising one day. You never know. So I always am just like trying to add more things to my plate and just always learn. So then when I do have a new artist, I can just use all of my experiences and my tools to really help. Because even just like as an A&R, it's like I could reach out to the writers because I was a writer once. I know those same people at those same publications. So it's like all the things that I've done have actually helped. And it you kind of become a one-stop shop for your artist because they're like, oh, well, Ashley was a writer, so she understands this from that background, or she's in portfolio school right now, so she can maybe help also with the marketing and figuring out ideas that way. So I just say never box yourself in. Anything you think you want to learn, do it. Go for it.
Absolutely. I loved it. And you already really touched on this a little bit here, but what's unique about the way that you find talent at Raedio? What makes your approach different?
For me, I really don't look at numbers at all. And I think after I noticed that working at a major at one point, that was like a really big thing of just like, okay, yeah, they're talented, but also like, what's the numbers like? Is this trending? Like, what's going on? For me, I was always the person that was like, no, I don't care about numbers. Like, we could figure that out. As long as they, you know, I get to sign this artist and they have the talent and they're ready to work and we have a strong team, I believe that anything can go. Like if it's authentic and it feels right, that to me is my main thing.
Got
So
it. That really dives right into my next one as well. So you talk about not looking at numbers, and I feel like oftentimes we can get caught up in, what's viral right now, who's hot on TikTok today, and they'll be gone tomorrow. So what do you as an A&R look for as you push past the noise of something that might just be hot in that moment?
I look for people. It's funny because I signed an artist back in January that we haven't announced just yet, but she didn't really have a lot of followers or anything like that, but I heard the music and I was just like, I've heard something like this before, but it feels like very nostalgic. And I was like, I love it. And then even though it was during COVID, early on during COVID, I like wanted to meet her and I met her in person and just heard her story. And she had a vision for herself and she knew where she wanted to go. And I think a lot of times when artists are already like, oh yeah, I know where I kind of want to be in 5 years. I have an outline of what I want to do. This is the person I want to be. That really makes me connect with them because I've seen a lot of times where artists, they may come in with the vision and they know who they want to be, but then they maybe get into a label system and they feel like they have to change in order to fit in and maybe get to where other people are going. And they're like, oh, well, this is happening faster for this person than me. So maybe I should switch my style up and maybe I should do something like this. And it's just like, I could give like an example if it's just like, if you're not the Instagram girl, you know, that's going to be posting all the flat, you know, in the bodycon dresses and the fashion novas, be you, wear your sneakers and your t-shirt and just allow people to connect off of the music. And I think a lot of times it's just like that competitive nature of like, I want this so bad, but I feel like I kind of have to change myself. So when I see an artist that is just like tunnel vision and they know what they want, I feel very like more adamant to be like, okay, this is somebody I really want to like help push further.
Right. And I feel like it's a balance game, right? Giving people what they want while staying true to yourself. Can you give us even a real background on someone that you were in that predicament with, and you told them to really be yourself, and there's success at the end of the tunnel?
Um, I don't know if I have a specific example, but I can say clearly she's on this panel today, but somebody like a Tate, like out the gate, she knew who she was. She didn't need no the approval of anybody else. And I really liked that about her. And I was like, damn, like she got her head on straight and she knows what she wants to do. And she's just like, either you take it or you leave it. And I think with somebody like her, the reception has just been so great because it feels organic. People can tell when you're trying too hard or it's not natural to you.
Right.
So she's just somebody that's like, she will get up on Instagram on a live and just be cracking jokes and being funny. And that's just who she is naturally. So for me, just to see her progression, you know, from when she got signed over at Raedio to now, and just like, it kind of felt like people were like still scoping it out, like, okay, yeah, we heard of girls, and she got her own style, and that's cool. And now to have like put out the I Am video and just see how people are just like, they really like it, and they're like, oh man, like we've been sleeping on her. It's just like, yeah, people come around. You just gotta be patient and just really like I said, have that end goal and know what your vision is. So that to me is like the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of, young baby Tate, certainly making waves and I think becoming more of a household name for many people. What has been your approach to continue breaking her into the industry and helping her build that career up?
I mean, Tate is she's her own person. Really, it's great to work with her because she kind of already knows what she wants. It's kind of just like us also filling in the pieces to be like, hey, maybe we should try this. Maybe we should do this. She's super collaborative, always open to trying different things. Yeah, I think with her, she's just such a big personality. So you're just going to keep seeing her on so many different things. She does it all. She sings, she raps, is going to be doing acting, like all of that stuff. Like, it's crazy.
For sure. I'm excited to continue looking out for her as well. I mean, as you think about advice, you can give to other women looking to work in the industry, whether it's on the artist side or on the back end, the business side of things. What would some of that advice be for young ladies?
Advice for young ladies. I think again, for me, it's just like never stop learning. Always equip yourself with anything that you feel like you're interested in concerning music, because then that just makes you an asset. I think Brittany maybe mentioned that, just like show your value to people. Like for me, it's always like, I'm not only an A&R, I do creative direction. I love marketing. I'm a big thinker. Like I'm envisioning things from, not just a short term length, but a long term link with everything. So for me, it's always just like, I love people that are multi hyphenates. Do everything, be able to do everything. Cause it's always like, you always need someone to be able to brainstorm with, bounce ideas off of. And you can just really show your worth to people that way. So I definitely say for me, it's always educate yourself, continue no matter what, even if it's, and maybe if you're not doing it in an academy, find somebody in the music industry that you look up to and just, if they're open to it, ask them questions. Like that for me is a big thing.
Absolutely. I know mentorship can definitely be a big one. So, with that being said, we're just about at time here. Ashley, thank you so much again for joining us. It was great conversating with you and look
Cool.
forward to following Radio's journey and all the great things that you're going to be doing.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.